Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show. And I'm so excited. Look, I have an in-house, in-studio friend, guest, colleague with me today, Sylvia Somerville. And we're going to have a chat about traveling. I'm trusting that everybody had a beautiful, long weekend. I know I sure enjoyed myself. And if you're watching live, we're streaming also on Self-Worth the Missing Link Superstars Facebook page, E360 TV, and also on my YouTube channel. And all you have to do is search Laurie Davis Show Host, and there we are. Even if you might not even have to do that. So I said to Sylvia, join me today in the studio. We're in my studio, and as my guest. And Sylvia's been on the show a few times, actually, talking about her work in the world, her books, and her writing. And she's here for a visit. And I'm so glad you are.
And I'm glad you invited me. I'm having a fantastic time. And it's just so good to meet you in person.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're going to get lots done. We're going to get lots done. So one of our passions that we share many things in common. And the more I get to know Sylvia, the more I realize why we clicked. Right. Because we'd only ever seen each other on Zoom calls.
Exactly.
Right. And we look pretty darn good, I'd say, don't you?
I think we do too.
Yeah, for our ages. And but one of the things we have in common, and we were talking about earlier this morning, was travel. And we all know how COVID put the kibosh on travel.
Absolutely.
I just did my first live workshop setting since before COVID. I just did it last week. It's the first time I've been to a hotel, had a group, and could actually hug people and be with people. And it was fantastic. And I realized how much then I have missed traveling, because I used to be an avid traveler myself. And Sylvia also has traveled a lot. So let's just talk about maybe how travel has impacted us. Just how did us traveling? I've been to many places. You've been to Africa. How many times?
About 15, 18.
Wow. Wow. And we'll talk more about what it was the big attraction for you. But just speaking generally, what would we like to share with our viewers about why travel is a good thing?
I think it's extremely important and a great benefit because you see things on TV about the world and you say, this is terrible, what's happening over there. But when you travel, you get to know these people and you see the differences, but yet, even though it seems they're different, they're the same as we are.
Right.
It doesn't matter what country you're in, what their culture, their traditions, their religion is, everything is the same.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we have to travel. You get introduced to some amazing meals, foods you have no idea sometimes what you're eating, but
hey,
I find out I never ask.
Yes.
It tastes good, I enjoy it, and that's good enough.
Right.
I don't need to know.
Right. Well, I got my travel bug from my dad because my dad was a World War II veteran. And of course, they went overseas, and he traveled England, Holland, France, all that during the war, and realized that the world's a really big place, right?
Absolutely.
Not just that little hometown where he grew up. So he insisted that we always have a holiday in the summer. So we'd go down to Boston, visit his aunties, or we'd go camping. And I got that from him, that desire to see the world. And so I started traveling very young. I believe I had my first passport when I was 18. And I traveled every summer because I taught school and I had the summers off.
Wow. I wish I'd had that opportunity. I didn't start traveling till later.
Okay.
But
and how did that happen? How did your first trip to Africa? Tell us about that. How that was executed, because I think it's such a great story.
It is. I was friends with the principal of a junior high school. His aunt came over and for a visit. He asked me to show her the sights, let her have a good time. So I kind of got close to the aunt And she said, come on over to Africa. And I said, oh yeah, people do. He said, yeah, sure, I'll come. And I said that, but I had no idea I was going. Not in reality, right?
No.
But then I went home and I was telling my husband about it after she went back. And he said, yeah, you should go to Africa. I said, no, we should go to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been in an airport.
Oh,
Never mind
my.
on a plane. And I was about, I don't know, early 30s. I
Oh,
thought,
wow.
I can't do that.
Oh.
Well, he said, he had reasons, good legitimate cause, that he really didn't want to go up in a plane for medical reasons. And I said, good, we're not going. I called my friend in Africa and said, sorry, but it's just not going to work. And she said, well, think about it and get back to me. And I said, yeah, sure. But I thought, no, this isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Comes my birthday about 3 months later. Ray comes home from work. He's got a little packet. He said, open it now. It's important. Here's a ticket to Africa, traveler's checks, itinerary.
Oh, gee.
And I thought, oh no. He said, yeah, I already talked to your friend Joyce and she knows you're coming. This is the date we picked, so get packing. And I thought, oh my God. I thought, I can't do this. And I said to him, how can I do this? And he said, you know what? He said, you're an author. One day you're going to be a famous author. You have to see the world. You have to know how other people live. How can you write about it if you don't live it?
Oh, wow. Well, now that you've mentioned it and you've brought up writing, let's talk a little bit about, and then we'll get back to our travel. Let's share with our viewers why you're here. I mean, you're here to spend time with me and help me out, that's for sure. But you're here for a very special reason. So why don't you share why you're here?
Well, I've come here because we are going to be running a writer's workshop retreat. There are so many people out there who want to write a book, and we all have these stories. We all say to our friends, oh, this happened, that happened. Some of them are stories that will touch your heart. It'll tear your heart apart. And some of them will just make you laugh. It doesn't matter what your story is. You have a story, and we're here. I'm here to help you compose this, compose this book, create this book. We're going to pick great titles, amazing book covers that are going to jump off the shelf.
Right.
And help everyone tell their story.
Right. So our first retreat is full. It's coming up this weekend.
Yes.
We have a retreat coming this weekend. Sylvia bought a one-way ticket. I don't know how long she plans to stay, but she did bring 20 of her beautiful workbooks that she created to support our authors, our budding authors. So it'll be terrific. And I'm going to be in your first workshop because I have lots of ideas for books in my head. I just don't ever get them to the paper and out the door. And in the meantime, you have decided to reignite your publishing business.
Absolutely.
And so now we have not only a writing instructor, but we have somebody who has a publishing access to publishing in her back pocket. So it's an amazing, I'm really looking forward to it. We were supposed to do this in May, but of the wildfires, and I was evacuated. And so we postponed Sylvia's trip. So that's what we're here to do. And really looking forward to the outcome. And Prince is here. Prince Fleet East, and he says, yay for Sylvia. Let's put it up. Yay. Yay, Sylvia.
Woohoo. Thank you, Prince. I really appreciate that.
Cool. Let's see who else is here. I don't know if I can find out or not, but I bet we have, I don't know. Who do we have? Some love.
I have an idea who that is.
You know who's here?
Who?
You haven't met Lisa. Lisa Horn. She's one of my colleagues. She's been with me for probably, 8 or 9 years. She's a facilitator, took the facilitation training.
Fantastic.
Oh, look here. She says, hi, Sylvia. Welcome to Alberta.
Thank you very much. I'm enjoying what I've seen, and I'm going to see a lot more.
Yes. Lisa lives in Saskatchewan, and Prince Fleet lives in Palm Springs, California. So they're watching us today, and we're talking about travel. And listen up, Prince, listen up about getting on that plane. So we have Sylvia, who made 15 trips to Africa. Now tell us about You went first to visit your friend, but then you got called back for a variety of reasons.
I did. While I was there, my friend, knowing I'm a writer and a great photographer, by the way, she set up a meeting with me with a publisher of a magazine in Johannesburg.
Oh, wow.
And we talked, and he said he looked at some of my work. He went online and kind of investigated me while we were off tracking lions and taking photos of elephants and whatnot. And then when we got back, we went to Johannesburg and talked with him. And he hired me as a photojournalist.
Wow.
He'd seen my photography and, anyway.
Cool.
So I got hired as a freelance
Yes.
photojournalist. So, of course, I was going back every year, and my friends, I would just say to them, this year I need this. So, because they live in Africa, they'd have everything planned for me.
Oh, beautiful.
I just end up and get in the car, and we'd go, and they'd say, this is where we're going, and this is what you're going to do. So,
right.
It was amazing.
Beautiful. Well, for me, travel, like I said, we traveled a lot when I was a kid, and then I got my own travel bug going, and then I won some trips. I don't know that I've told you that.
No.
Yeah. I was with the Mary Kay organization and a top producer. So when you hit a certain level, you got an all expense paid trip somewhere. They had a destination.
Cool.
So one year the destination was Hong Kong. And another year, this was an amazing trip, Austria. I had been there, but we went to Vienna, and we always had a gala dinner at the end of these trips. So you get all dolled up and go to your gala dinner. And in this particular trip, we went to a castle.
Wow.
And I love dishes and china and all that stuff. But the wine goblets and glasses were 700 years old. The silverware was even older, and the china was about 800 years old. You were afraid to use it.
But it must have looked so
It was
amazing.
so beautiful.
Wow.
And I mean, there were probably 35 or 40 of us on the trip. So round tables and all the linens, and every table had their own server. It was just extremely elegant. And I was so grateful to my mom, who had taught me how to dine anywhere, whether it was a burger or a fancy schmancy dinner, yeah. Right? Oh, Prince, look at this. Check this out, Sylvia. Prince, I've been invited to go to Africa. I'm planning my driving route. Yeah, because he doesn't really. Is it okay for me to share why you would drive there and not fly there? No, we don't need to talk about that. Okay. Yeah. So on Tuesdays, I'm usually, you're filling in for Ramin today, because on Tuesdays, Ramin and I do a show on finance. But he's been away, and he just got back home last night after 29 hours.
I know the feeling.
Oh, yeah. So he'll be back next week, which would be really nice. And he and I are working on a project because we want to promote our 100 Shades of Prosperity.
Absolutely.
We've created 100 workshops in finance, and he doesn't want to do managing portfolios anymore. He wants to teach us how to manage our own money. So that's a nice tie-in for what we were talking about earlier.
And it's a big demand for that.
Yes.
Especially in this day and age.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're expanding and growing all the time, Yeah.
And if I might add, when we were talking about our writer's workshop and the fact that I have restarted my Seagull Publications, it means that when these writers that we're going to teach to create these books, when they finish their book, we can make them 1 or 2 copies we can publish for them, as opposed to most of the big printing houses. They demand that you print 200 or something.
Yes.
We're willing to do 2 books for you, because once you see it in your hand,
wow,
and you look at your work and your friends see it, well, right away you
that's
need
how
more.
Yeah.
And that's how you start to make more money.
Yes.
Because in the beginning you may not have the confidence and think, well, who wants to buy this?
Right.
But once you hold it, you'll say, wow, this is good.
Yes.
And that'll start you on your way to a bestseller.
That's right.
and lots of money.
Yes. And we all need that.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking about that because, I've been involved in some compilation books. And you're right. Like we had to buy at least 50 books,
Yep.
pay the shipping,
Yep.
everything. Well, in my Ignite the Entrepreneurs right there, that's what I've got left. But I had purchased 50 of them.
Yep.
And yeah, so to be able to get just a couple of books in your hands just as a sample, that's innovative.
It is.
And that's doable for people.
It is. And that's what you have to make it doable. And then we listed on different booking markets, Amazon,
Barnes and
and
Noble.
Noble, all the different ones that are out there.
Right.
And you see those too, and and then you'll start talking up your book.
Right.
Because in the beginning, you need that self-confidence that it is a good book.
Yeah.
We might tell you it's a good book, but you may not believe it.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I think what's really beautiful is that you not only can show us, and I'm going to be your student, you're not only going to show us how the mechanics of writing a book, but you've got the setup so that there's a support after the fact.
Absolutely.
There's any service that we would need to get our book out there is sitting right here next to me. How cool is that? And I hope she doesn't go back for quite some time because I want her here to get all my books written. But I can't wait for the retreat on the weekend so that we can, and we have some other ladies coming to join us, and we're just going to have so much fun with you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and
for
I know
sure.
it's fun.
Yeah, right on. Cool. So back to our travel, our books. One of my most favorite authors was Agatha Christie back in the day. And Agatha Christie always was writing from some different location.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
She was in and I think part of the attraction was reading the descriptions of where she was, that murder took place, it was for but the people that I want to have come and join us are people who have really strong stories that need to be told to help other people. Absolutely.
Every book helps someone.
Right.
Every book, no matter what the story is about, it will tell someone, you know what, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be unhappy. It's okay to be really happy, whether people understand it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be you.
Mm-hmm.
And just, this is me. And
right.
This is the way it is.
Right. And this is what happened to me. And if you're familiar, well, I've invited you to be one of my speakers for an event I want to do in November called the Recovery Summit.
Yes.
So another idea that I had around that was have my speakers write a chapter, and we do our own compilation book called Recovery. Because in that presentation, they're going to spend 15 minutes talking about what happened, 15 minutes talking about what they did to get through it, and then 15 minutes of self-promotion. What are you doing now? Blah, blah, blah. And we're going to have 21 speakers. So that's a project that I would appreciate your help with, because that's the next thing we're going to work on.
Yes.
Is getting that event together. And I have some really cool people lined up to join us that have, Prince, I'm hoping that he's going to say yes. He says mine would come in a brown paper wrapper.
Well, that's okay too.
That's okay too. That's okay too.
You know what? We can buy a beeper, and while he's talking, we can just go beep, beep, beep.
There you go. Right on.
Never a problem.
No, that's cool. So yeah, we've got lots on our plate. But I know that my traveling experiences, every single one of them have contributed to my healing, my learning, my personal and professional development.
Absolutely. And you know the story I was going to tell about my first arrival in Johannesburg. Yes. I can say that one.
Absolutely.
And it just points out how much you learn, because the first trip, like I said, I'd never been in an airport. I'd never been on a plane.
Wow.
And I'd never heard a South African accent.
Oh.
So, of course, and on top of it, I was a little hard of hearing. So I arrive in Johannesburg Airport, going through customs.
Oh, yes.
And the custom agent, my suitcase is open on the counter, and the custom agent says to me, at least this is what I heard, "Do you have any boobs?" And I just start to sweat. And
You didn't know.
I
Oh,
didn't know
my
how to
goodness.
answer him. I just stood there. And he kept asking it. He says, "If you have boobs, I must see them." And I'm telling you, I was just red. I was sweating. I thought, I'm going home. Because I don't know anything about other countries at this point. And another agent comes up to see what the holdup is. And he said, "Penthouse, Playboy." And I thought, oh my gosh, they're saying books.
Oh, do you have
Did I
any
have
books?
any books?
Oh, my goodness.
So after that, I mean, life was really good then. The point being, when you travel, you come across so many experiences, some of them very interesting, some of them very upsetting, but most of them are just happy. And you meet so many people. There's always someone everywhere willing to help you. All you have to say is, "Do you know where?" or "How do I?" And they will help you.
Wow. I had a similar but different experience. I was traveling to Kansas City to speak. And so I had to go through the American customs, to get to the airplane. Check in through customs. And handsome black man was the customs officer. And he said, "Where are you heading to today?" And I said, "Kansas City." And he starts, "Kansas City, here I come." And he sang like 3 or 4 loops of, "I'm going to Kansas." And you see, you just don't ever know.
No.
And he said, "You might take a train. You might take a plane. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get there just the same." And he just took that and made my day, because I was nervous about going through. And yeah, it's a beautiful world, and I think after COVID, because we were so, let's talk a little bit about that, how that hampered the travel and the conferences that weren't held, and the speaking engagements, they dried up, and it was just crazy times.
And I think it probably had a great effect. Well, we know that it did have a great effect on a lot of people. They almost became hermits.
Yes.
And that fear and trauma has carried on. They haven't been able to get out of that stage that they're in. And that's so sad, because they're missing so much of life.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to go outside. They're afraid
to get on a plane, afraid to travel, afraid to contact with other people.
Yeah, it's
scary.
Just so sad.
Yeah.
And we can only hope that they get past it. I'm sure it will, but I think they need to get some help.
Yeah. Well, you know where they can get help.
Oh, definitely. Right from you. You have some amazing courses. And I mean, even myself, after a tragic incident.
You can talk about that if you want.
Well, when my husband of 57 years had passed away. And my life just came to a standstill, because he was my everything. I admit I was a very pampered wife. Whatever I wanted, of course, he made it happen. And suddenly he died of cancer. And now I'm alone. I'd never lived on my own. I lived at home.
Yeah.
Got married, you live with your husband, and now suddenly you're all alone.
Yeah.
The kids are married now on their own. And how do you function? I was lost. And then one day, Laurie got in touch with me. And I took the course, and wow.
Yeah.
I found me again.
Yeah, isn't that great?
It's great. Like back then, I thought everything was done. I wasn't even writing much anymore.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know it. I'd sit in a chair and just sit there and nod off all day and night, and like it was nowhere. It was a bad road.
Yes.
But you put me on the road to happiness.
No,
seriously, your courses are amazing, and anyone that takes them will tell you that, as you know.
Yes.
You've helped so many people over the years. And anyway, we do need you, and we need your courses, and we need your help.
And we need you to teach us how to communicate in those books and get those out there so that, I mean, when we met, we didn't know we'd be sitting here today, did we?
No. We certainly didn't.
No, that's right. That's right.
When
But that's
we
good.
met, when you first called me, I thought to myself, somebody is actually interested in me and my books, because I'd lost that.
Right.
I was running my publishing business, everything, and then just everything, life
Got in
stopped.
the way. Yep.
So
That can happen.
there's a lot of people out there who need that.
Yeah.
They need to know that you're here to help them
Yeah.
and get them back to where they should be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's not easy. And that's why I said in the beginning that some of the books people are going to write,
Yes.
they're going to give messages to others
That's right.
and tell them it's okay for this to happen. I know it's bad, but you can get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also really good to be happy and do
Mhm.
silly things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm silly all the time. How you say I don't want to grow up, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm staying. I think that is part of the secret, to keep the child in you alive.
Yes. Have fun.
Have fun.
People don't know how to have fun
I know they don't.
because we grew up with programming around, well, as one of our clients said earlier today, when your value is all tied up in how hard you work or how much money you make, or that's where you've planted all your self-worth there, and you'll never be happy.
No.
No.
Money will never make you happy. It may help you live
More comfortably. And,
more comfortable life, but
No.
it won't bring you happiness.
and you can't buy your self-worth either.
You can't buy your self-worth.
No.
No, you can't buy your self-love.
No.
You can't.
You have to repair it and restore it. And travel, back to that. I don't know how many times I've been to California. Many. I used to go down to conferences, and because there was somebody teaching something that I wanted to learn. And, a lot of our self-help gurus came out of California,
Yeah.
right? So made many trips to California. But now I'm going back to California. I'm making a trip in November, going down for 2 weeks.
Fantastic.
Because I have all these beautiful, well, Prince is one of them, all these beautiful clients and friends that I have now made in California and with GSFE and all those girls. And so I just really want to go and just visit and spend time and do some
It's a lot of
business.
fun. Absolutely.
And do some business.
There's always time for business.
That's right. That's right.
Always time for business.
Mhm.
And when you talk about traveling, sometimes we get an urge to travel somewhere and we don't even know why.
Right.
And those are the ones you have to do. Like with me, I have no idea why, but I want to go to the Fiji Islands.
Okay.
I have no idea why. It just has been in my mind for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go there.
Right.
And I will.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly an eye-opener, like you said. And I have a funny story about Hong Kong, too, because that was a trip that we won. So we went with a group of people that we knew and had worked with and so on. Well, some of them we didn't know personally, but they were in our same level of performance. So we go to Hong Kong and we have a travel guide, and she's going to show us different places to go visit. And I always like to get down to where the real people live.
Absolutely.
Right? The main, I want to get into the village or that was me. So she said, if anybody wants to go downtown and visit the local markets and get to greet the local people, anyone can come. So we're going to meet 2:00 the next day. Now we had a young couple there from Manitoba, my neck of the woods here. And he was from Russia, her husband. Handsome, tall, blonde, blue-eyed, gorgeous guy. I mean, and in Hong Kong, trust me, he stood out in the crowd. Because, wouldn't he? So here's the funny thing. We're waiting in the lobby and we're waiting for that couple to show up. And I said, well, I'm quite sure that Brenda and Paul are coming. She said, Brenda and Paul. I said, Paul, big, tall, handsome, blonde-haired guy. Oh, she said, you Americans, you all look alike to me. I went, what? Now, I've heard that about other cultures, but that was coming back. Okay, it was like a boomerang. And I said, no, we don't all look alike. But in that country, in that culture, I guess maybe we do. Maybe we do. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of funny things can happen. Fun things can happen. Bad things can happen. But you have to know how to handle yourself. Right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
again, if you don't, you need that self-worth, you need that self-love, and you need self-confidence
That's right.
because it's so important.
That's right. Well, in 2009, I was on 55 airplanes.
Oh, wow.
I spoke in 18 American cities.
Wow.
I traveled with Clemson University out of South Carolina. They had a workshop series that they provided for female professionals, and they would bring in 5-6 speakers. I was the only Canadian, I think, on, yeah, for sure. So we went to I was in 18 different locations, and what a beautiful experience that was. But this one particular night I landed, it was right after they had a hurricane or a tornado or something in Galveston.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Right.
And I waited too long to book my hotel because they always use like the Marriott, nice hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So we always got our rooms there. But this one particular time I couldn't get my room there. So I booked it at another hotel, which was on the other side of the tracks, so to speak, the bad side of town. And all of the workers who were working in Galveston on the construction and everything were staying at that hotel. And I went, oh gosh, this is not a good spot. I made a poor choice there. And I'm on my own. So I just walked down the boardwalk. The guys were hanging out the doors, drinking beer and smoking and hi. And I just said hello to everybody as I went by. Because I know how to take care of, what do you call it? You're street smart, right?
Mm-hmm. Street
so
smarts.
I acknowledged everybody. The next morning, I get all dolled up to go to the conference. And I want to get a taxi. And I go out to the lobby. There's nobody in the lobby. The place is locked solid. All the workers are gone. So I saw a convenience store down the highway. So here I am in my high heels, dragging my suitcase down the highway to get to this convenience store so I can order a cab. I get in there, little Mexican gal behind the counter, not speak a word of English. I said, cab, taxi, phone, because this was, number. I almost was like playing charades. So anyway, finally this woman came in, tough woman, but she spoke English. And she said, what? She looked at me and she kind of went, what is a woman like you doing in a place like this? I said, I need a taxi. And the Marriott was just the other side of the tracks. I'm serious. So anyway, she said, well, if you get into the car with me, I'll take you to the hotel. She was buying cigarettes. I said, if I get in the car with you and I get to that hotel, I'll buy your smokes right now. I'm always buying cigarettes for people. Isn't that interesting?
Absolutely.
I just thought of it. So anyway, she said, okay, that sounds good. So she got me there safely. But you never know what to expect, and you have to be flexible. And you have to have, if you have certain expectations, you've got to bring those down.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially when it comes to a hotel. Maybe it wasn't
Absolutely.
what you thought, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So did you have any other, let's say you have a really great story about that lion. Was it a lion that challenged you, or you challenged it, or how you used to jump off the Jeep to take pictures and such? You've got lots of stories. So let's get going.
Stories.
Your turn to talk.
I think when you were talking about the girl with the car, this story would fit in really well.
Okay.
It was my first trip to Africa as well. Like I said, green as the grass. And I knew there was apartheid in the world, but I really didn't know anything about it or experienced it. And my friends I was staying with, friends I just met, by the way. I met these two people and they said, can we show you around Cape Town? And I said, yeah, sure. I didn't know them, but I think you have that little voice, like you getting in the car with that lady. Something tells you it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it'll tell you it's not. Anyhow, long story short, we were going to travel through the smaller countries in Africa. he took time off work, and they were going to work that day. They gave me their passports. I had mine. I'm going to take the commuter train to Cape Town, go to the embassies, get all our passports things stamped with visas and whatnot. They told me, walk down this road, blah, 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 the way to go there. And the maid, this Bantu maid from the lady next door, she was going to make sure I got there.
Right.
Okay? So I'm going to make it a short story.
There are no short stories with you.
No
Okay.
short stories. Anyway, in the morning, she was there. She said, let's go. We start down the road, and she says, no. She speaks not really good English, but enough. She says, no, we go this way. And I look, there's barbed wire fence, sign saying, I'm not allowed there. It's in Afrikaans, but I know what it means. And she says, no, shorter. Well, you know what? If I'm going to write about it, I have to live it. So she held up the barbed wire, and I crawled through the fence, and off we went.
Oh my goodness.
And we were walking through like the crossroads settlement, that type of thing. And I'm thinking, okay. And she met up with these two fellows, great big tall fellows, like football players. And I don't know what they're talking about, but keeps saying Canada. That's me they're talking about, right?
Right.
So obviously I'm just a little bit apprehensive, wondering, should I have gone? We walked for a ways, and I'm thinking, if anything's going to happen, there's like a tunnel walkway. We have to go under. And I thought, this is where it's going to happen if it will. I'm going to simply drop my purse because there's nothing in it anyway and run. But you know what? Nothing happened.
No.
And that was just my lack of trust with someone I didn't know.
Right.
But it was fantastic. And we had a lovely time in Cape Town. Every time we went in, she'd say, I can't go to that store. I'd say, why not? She says, I'm Bantu. So then I didn't go in either.
Oh, wow.
I thought, you know what? If you don't want her, you don't want me.
No.
And that was just one of the stories. But getting off the Jeeps, yeah. I got kicked off. Oh my goodness. Several conservation areas. I was told. But you know what? There's so many of them. When I go back, I just go somewhere else the next year.
Right.
But look at the amazing video I have of the lions.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have got that.
No.
I wouldn't have got a lot of pictures. But the lion you're talking about, we run a walking safari. And you walk all day, and we get to the camp. Everyone else was tired, but as you've seen with me, I have a little bit of energy.
A little. Listen, she's only been here 2 days, and I'm exhausted.
So I thought I'd go for a little walk, and I told the cooks, you're not really supposed to leave without a ranger. They were sleeping, and whatever. So I said, I'll be back. I'm not going far. And I didn't go too far, but a little further than I should have. But I got fantastic photos. And on the way back, I see the camp down the hillside below me, and I can hear them puttering around and making the food for the dinner. So I kind of lay back in the grass like you do, put hedge behind me, sitting like that, laying there looking up. Vultures were hovering, etc. I'm involved with that. And I saw a shadow, and I thought, oh, the sun. Well, when I looked, there's this massive lioness right at my feet. And as I'm looking at her, and I got a hat on, and when I'm looking at her, she starts with her paw whacking me.
Uh-oh.
I had been taught in those situations, don't move. She might kill you, but if you run, she's going to kill you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the best defense is to do nothing. So she worked her way up, and her head, so help me, her head was like here, and there was blood in her mouth.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't sure what was going on. I was all like scratches and brush burns on the top of my legs where she kept whacking me with her feet. She wanted me to move. I guess she wanted to know if I was alive or dead. I don't know. Anyway, she roared. When she roared, the spittle and all this stuff was going all over your face. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm dead. I hope they find enough of me to know who I was.
Oh my gosh.
That was my thought.
Wow.
I hope they find enough of me after she's through that they know, so they can tell my family what happened.
Right.
For some reason, she just backed off and she laid under this fever tree about 10 feet from me. And there's tall grass between us, right? So every now and then it looked to me like she went to sleep. So I tried to back up. And every time I tried to move, her head would come up in a feeble roar. And finally, I thought she'd gone to sleep. And I moved and there was no sound. So I took off running as fast as I could down the hillside into the camp.
Wow.
And when the rangers started, lecturing me for doing things I shouldn't have done, and I was telling them what happened, now they're worried that there's a lioness that could kill people. So I had to lead them back up to where it all happened. And we went up the top of the hillside. She was still laying there. Now, when she was over me, I didn't realize because, let's face it, I was sincerely terrified. I wasn't thinking of anything. I was terrified. And I thought I was dead.
No kidding.
Then as we near her, we see her whole side is covered in blood. She hadn't gone to sleep. She died. That's why she didn't come after me. And I like to think about the fact that maybe when she saw me, she just didn't want to die alone.
Wow.
And I was
right there,
her companion, because prior to that, apparently she died with her mate. They'd been shot by poachers, and her mate had been killed. And she was trying to get to the conservation area where she knew there'd be protection.
Oh, wow.
I just choose to believe that she didn't hurt me because she just didn't want to die alone. And that's another point for another show about how, as people, it just would be so wonderful if we knew that nobody ever had to face any kind of trauma all on their own. That there's always going to be somebody with them.
Mm-hmm.
And at that last moment in life, somebody will be there.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
Yeah, that was, it's in my book.
Yes.
Dark Sun, Dry Rain.
Right.
First story in the book. It's
wow.
It just touched me.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your writing. How long have you been writing?
My first book, Tribulum, was published in 1977.
Wow.
So quite a few years.
Right. So the perfect person to coach us.
Absolutely.
Good job. I'm glad you said that.
And
I'm glad you agree.
And I also taught writers' workshops prior to my husband getting cancer. After that, like I said, everything just stopped.
Yes.
But I have done it before, and I love it.
That's great. We're going to have a great time.
You are, because my writing is passion, and if you're coming to learn to write a book, you're passionate about writing, and you're passionate about getting a story out to people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Well, I can't wait. I am waiting. I can wait. It's Tuesday, and we've got things to do to get ready. And we're going to run probably 2 or 3 more. We just haven't established the dates because we have people interested, and I want to work around them. And so we'll make it happen for sure. So today, if you're watching or you're going to be listening later on, my special friend and guest is right here in the studio with me. And we spent lots of time together on Zoom, but now we're in person, and it's like fire and oil. We're going to get so much done while Sylvia is here. So we have about 10 more minutes. What else would we like to share? The traveling. I'd like to talk a little bit about looking at what happens when we can look at something through a different set of eyes. So we don't have to share the details, but last night we had a conversation, and you said to me, "Oh my gosh, I've never looked at it that way." And how many times have we caught ourselves saying that? I didn't see it that way. Because we're so, what would you call it, Sylvia? Programmed?
Tunnel vision.
There we go.
We just see
what we want to see.
What we want to see, and we don't see what's out there. We miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where travel is very, very, very necessary, very, very beneficial, because like I said, we see, like for me, I saw apartheid, and I was absolutely disgusted with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could you treat other human beings that way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one thing. As you know, with all the different cultures, there's so much going on.
Yes. Right.
Like, look what happens with the indigenous people.
Oh, that's 300 more shows,
Oh,
right?
million perhaps.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, something that Ramin has shared, and this is usually his time, but I'll just say hi to you out there today, Ramin. But he told me in Iran, when someone leaves their children money, let's say you have a son and a daughter, the son gets, I believe, 2/3 of the money, and the daughter only gets 1/3,
Yeah.
right? So there's a cultural thing as it relates to finance. And there's so much to learn. I think the more I travel, the more I realize I don't know
We don't know anything
the
about
half
it.
of it.
No, we don't.
No.
We only know what affects us.
Right.
And when you see what's happening, like, it's one thing to see it on TV, but to go over there and see what's really happening to people,
Mm-hmm.
it brings it all to you. And you can't help but wish that you could change it.
Yes.
And you can bit by bit.
Yeah. Well, we're working on that.
Yep.
One story at a time, one person at a time, one family at a time. Right.
Absolutely. But
And-
that's why it's so important. Like with your courses, you're reaching out to people and they reach out to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And with me, it's the books. I help all these people write a book, and everyone's book, your message
Mm-hmm.
is so important.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So I'm looking forward to our event, our recovery event, because we're going to have speakers who are going to talk about recovering from alcohol, recovering from depression, recovering from losing a loved one. You name it, we've got it covered.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a lot of good. And we're only charging $25 for your ticket, and that gets you in for the full 3 days. And you can pick and choose the speaker that you want. Or
and how
come in.
amazing is that for that price? Like,
It's
like nothing.
super amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just like you know, we would supply our authors with 2 books and see how we think alike, because I'm not in the thing to make money. It's to get the message out there, get the word out there. And so, but it has value.
Oh,
And
definitely.
so, you know, we have a ticket price, but we want it to be accessible. And I know organizations who are just going to send their staff.
You know,
They're going to
good.
pay for their staff to
Yeah,
come.
because it's a very important thing.
Right. Getting well.
Getting well.
Helping people to heal, learn, grow,
And help others.
and help others. That's right.
Pay it forward.
That's right.
And when you said about the 2 books, the reason I decided on the 2 books,
Yes.
when my first book in 77 came out,
Yes.
I belonged to a writer's group. And I thought, should I take my new books with me? They had just been published. And I thought, well, I better take them. I did not have the confidence in my work to show it, even though here's a publishing house has published it. It really did well. And yet in the beginning, I'm thinking, oh, what if they don't like it? What if they read it and they say, you call this a book? Or, such lack of self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the event. We're sitting there, and after the meeting, it comes to new business. And of course, the president says, Sylvia, your book just came out. I'm sure you brought copies. Can we see them? And now I feel like an idiot because I have to say, yeah, let me go get them out of the car.
Right.
And she said, you didn't bring them in?
Oh, wow.
So when we're going to do it this way, we're going to give you, you can print just 2 books if you want. We'll publish just 2. I mean, they'll be all in other markets. But for you personally, we'll give you 2 so that you look at it. And when you look at it and read it, you think, oh my God, did I do that?
Uh-huh.
And
Can't
you
wait.
won't lack you won't lack that confidence I lacked.
Yeah.
I sure got it back quickly, thanks to the group, right?
Yeah.
But
wow.
it's very important.
Yeah. I understand that. Well, a lot of times people don't think that what they have to say has value.
Absolutely.
Right. And therefore we lose our voice. We can lose our ability to communicate, to write, to share. We don't share how we feel. I mean, it all goes back to that.
It does.
Every single bit of it. Everything about life goes back to that.
I learned so much with that first book, and I thought to myself, wow, it sold so well. And I still kept saying to my husband, I said, so many people are buying it. And he says, it's a good book. And I said, really?
Yeah, see? Yeah,
So,
a lack of belief in ourselves and what we can do.
absolutely.
What we can do. But hey, there's no excuse now. We can't say, well, I'd like to write a book and I don't know how, because we have the perfect person with the credibility and experience to teach us how. And I can't wait to learn that. I can write, but I have never successfully written my own book. So now is the time.
You have to write your own book.
Yes, that's right.
When you do, it just gives you such a joy inside to know. And what's even more important, when you start getting emails, I am so glad I read your book.
See.
And they have different reasons why, depending on what the book was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you help people.
Yes.
And that's what the most important thing is. Like with that one book I put out, so many people said, you know, it was good to know I was not alone.
Yeah. See?
It's good to know other people experience the same thing.
Wow.
I
That's
mean, that's
so
fantastic.
Oh, I guess it
You got to
is.
get your book out there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jack Canfield, he's the author, co-author of the Chicken Soup series. Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen.
Yeah.
And I've met Mark Victor Hansen in person. I took some of his workshops in California. That's another reason I went to California. And Jack said it was never about selling books.
No.
It was always about, for him, making a difference.
And every book makes a difference.
Right.
In somebody's life.
And do you know those boys went to 144 publishers before they got somebody to say, because people were saying, oh, nobody's going to read that gushy mushy stuff like Chicken Soup for the Soul, Chicken Soup for the Golfer's Soul. I mean, look how that thing duplicated itself, right?
Yeah.
And they went to 144 publishing companies.
That's the way it works.
And look, they've sold over 1 billion books, I'm sure, now.
And it was that scenario that made me originally open Seagull Publications.
Oh, wow.
Because there were so many books out there, people bringing, I think this is amazing. Why won't a big publishing house do it? And that's why I did it, because I thought there's so many things out there that once I start it,
yes,
then somebody big will pick it up.
That's right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
The point is, it started.
That's right. That's right.
You just need somebody to give you that little boost.
That's right. You've done that with me. I don't have anything written yet in completion, but I've started. All right. Well, our time is just about up. And if you've been, we've just been sitting here chatting about a lot of things, travel, looking at life through a different lens, writing, our event coming up. So we've just had a very nice chat, like we're having tea and coffee. And I want to thank Sylvia for making the trip to Alberta to spend some time with me and my colleagues here and getting to know us better. And a real pleasure. We're going to have a recorded show tomorrow because I'm involved in a speaking engagement tomorrow, right at this very same time. So recorded, and then I have a guest coming in on Thursday. Coach Roz, her name is Coach Roz. So we're streaming live right now on E360 TV, our Facebook page, Self-Worth, The Missing Link Superstars. And of course, we have our superstar on the show today, and also our YouTube channel. So thank you for being here. And it was really fun to have you right in the studio. This is different for me.
It's different for me. I've never done this.
Right? Okay. Well, there you go.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, there you go. See, all new experiences. So have a great rest of the day, and we'll be back on Thursday. And I'm just going to put, if you want to contact Sylvia, or you want more information about our retreats, or you want to buy some books, just email her at seagull1142@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Sylvia. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here.